I'm D. Bethel, creator, writer, and artist of Long John, a Western webcomic you can find at longjohncomic.com. So, with the release of the trailer for the new Hellboy movie, and of course with my own personal affinity for the old Del Toro movies, I figured, and with the 25th anniversary of Hellboy himself, I figured it was only appropriate to draw a piece of fan art in celebration of Hellboy. I feel, despite having made comics for almost 12 years, I feel like I'm only really kind of starting to enter the fan art game, if only because I have questionable approaches to, or thoughts about how to use fan art. Obviously, if it's a good drawing, you want to monetize it, but I'm not really in that game. So I just want to do a cool drawing, and hopefully people appreciate it. And so my idea going into this drawing was to really try, and despite what I just said, I was kind of approaching it from a t-shirt design idea. How could I come up with a good drawing that's representative of Hellboy in basically 2 to 3 to 4 colors, max? So what that meant was no gradients, no in-depth shading or anything like that. Just try to keep it as graphic and as simple as possible. No intention of making it into a t-shirt, because that would be complicated, to say the least, on a lot of fronts. So the biggest front being I don't want to profit off of someone else's IP. So what that did is that when it came to drawing this, I wanted, for me, it meant approaching it from a high contrast kind of angle, which is nice because that's basically Mike Mignola's approach to his own art overall. Now, I wasn't trying to make a drawing that looked like a Mignola drawing, but something that respected that aesthetic and hopefully had my own sort of style stamp on top of it. I initially hesitated drawing this kind of approach with just a bust shot of Hellboy himself on a field of red, because I feel like it's actually been a drawing that has been, or at least an image that has been done, whether as a photograph of actors in costume or drawings of the character it's been done to death. But I hadn't done one, so that was good enough reason for me to do it. This is obviously a drawing that is being inked mostly in brush. I would go so far, even though I do pull out a micron in this video. The majority of this is inked with a brush. A tool that I use more often now than I ever have, but still not a tool I would say I have any kind of mastery of. My two main tools are the brush pen you see right now, which I believe is a Pentel. I'll have to go look. I should have been prepared. And a Winsor Newton watercolor brush that you saw earlier, the sort of flathead brush that I dip into Sumia ink, and there it is again. I really like this flathead brush because it is really versatile in ways that I never really was expecting, and I kind of came to it. I had a whole sort of brush set when I was doing watercolors back in my early 20s, and when I wanted to start trying to ink with a brush, I just used these brushes for no other reason than I had them, and they seem to work okay actually. But it's this brush that really kind of comes out of the toolbox more often than not, because you can obviously get the big, bold, chunks of ink there, but you can turn it outside and get fairly delicate lines as well. Now, I don't think I'd actually ink an entire piece with this thing, but when I want to have some brush effects, it is definitely more than capable of providing me with a wide array of possibilities. not the least of which are dry brush techniques, which I'm still not particularly good at, but I try. My familiarity with Hellboy is mostly through, I'm not gonna lie, this might mark me as a heretic, is mostly through the Del Toro movies, starring Ron Perlman. And I'm a fan of those because I'm a fan of Del Toro himself. But they did give me a deep appreciation for the character, a deep affection for him. Even, knowing that it's what I'm appreciating is an adaptation, not necessarily a faithful adaptation. Although Mignola was involved at the very least with the first one and gave his blessing on the second, and because of that, I'm remaining open and not overly blindly loyal to Del Toro with the trailers released for the new one, the reboot, for what it's worth. Any Hellboy is good Hellboy, as far as I'm concerned. It's just such a unique premise and cool character that I'm actually surprised I haven't really drawn him before, because he is relatively easy to draw and definitely fits a cartoony style easily enough, because he has that sort of the jutting jaw of like the Thing from Marvel Comics, from Fantastic Four, or even probably more my generation, but Badrock from Youngblood. And with those two shaved horns on his head, it just creates such an arresting visual that he's fun to draw. I actually really enjoyed drawing this piece, despite kind of worrying that since Mignola's style is so stylized, it's so distinctly Mignola's, that I worry that any sort of attempt at drawing him would just be a facsimile of the original. And while you probably could argue that that's what's happening here, to an extent, I'm pretty pleased with how it came out. The one thing I was worried about, and could have been easily solved with more in-depth shading, was sort of the trying to really capture that jutting lower jaw, and that we see the top of his lip there. I was afraid that it would come off to people as like we're seeing his teeth. And since it was all kind of monochromatic, it could be easily confused, but no one really said, why is he smiling? So I took that as a win. Anyway, so that was my 25th anniversary Hellboy appreciation piece, and I hope you enjoy it.